Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest instalment of Geek Boy Meta, a Liverpool story with me, your host, Geek Boy Meta. Hi everyone. Um, Gonna do something a bit different this week. Obviously, I'm sure you can guess from what you've seen of the title on the video. Just to say quickly as well, this will be available on YouTube podcasts. If you do not wish to see my extraordinarily ugly mug, and I won't blame you for that either. But yeah, we're going to do something a bit different for this week's podcast. It's something that I felt very strongly about over the course of the last year, and obviously the background to it. It's been in my life and a lot of people's lives for 35 years, and well, longer than that actually. And there are far more worthy people than me that have the right to talk about this subject and who can speak far more eloquently than me. And there are far more resourceful people on the subject matter that know a lot more than me, but it's just something that I wanted to address on the podcast and try and highlight in any way I can. Obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan, and that means defending all of the club, and this is one of those areas. So just for this week, because I'm recording this, well, by the time you see it, I would record this 3 or 4 days before, and if anything happens Liverpool-wise in terms of, well, yeah, let's just do that first quickly. So at the time of recording, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this will have changed. We've made a bid for Alexander Isak, and there's a whole load of nonsense going on with Etekike, whose name I can never pronounce. Luis Diaz, the bid from Bayern Munich, the supposed bid for Rodrigo for 35 billion quid, and potentially Darwin Núñez going to Saudi Arabia. So what I'll do, if it comes to it, I'll just do an individual video for all those things, because obviously I do shorts, as you guys know, mostly. But I'll do like a wrap up or go live if we do sign anyone, obviously. And that'll be a different video. But yeah, basically, I wanted to talk about Hillsborough law now on this video. Now, as I've just said, there are far better people, far more qualified to speak on this subject than myself. Obviously, I wasn't involved in Hillsborough. I have no knowledge in comparison to the families, to the survivors, to the supporters groups, to Hillsborough now, the actual group, the various other different social media groups, the Hillsborough Family Support Group, or anything like that. And it's for them, the likes of Ian Byrne, Margaret, all the leaders of Hillsborough and the support groups and the families who are way more knowledgeable about this than me, but it's just something I feel quite passionately about, so I wanted to talk about it on today's podcast. So, basically, Hillsborough Law Now was the bill that was introduced, I believe, and I could be wrong about this, so please correct me, but I have tried to do some reading about it. I'm not great with retaining information, unfortunately, but that's what stress and anxiety does for you, kids, unfortunately. But it was introduced to the House by, I believe it was Ian Byrne. Now, I'm not sure if he introduced it originally in its first form, but Mr. Byrne has had to reintroduce it, and again, I'm not a master of politics. I stay far clear of that because I just don't want to know anymore, quite frankly. But had to reintroduce it in Parliament last week because basically, long story short, it was getting to the point where it had essentially run out, and the bill had to be reread again in its original form. And quite incredibly, the bill was rejected by Labour MPs. So the initial background to this is that there were many people from survivors groups. I think Margaret Aspinall, Mrs Aspinall, very, very great lady, was one of the people who met and spoke to Keir Starmer. She actually had an interview the other day about this as well, and I'd urge you all to go and check it out. She spoke absolutely brilliantly and far more eloquently than some moron like me can do, basically. But yeah, she spoke about Mr. Keir Starmer, having met her and a few other people regarding the initial bill and swearing it into law. And basically, pretty much to Mrs Aspinall's face and possibly a couple of other people, said this will go through Parliament. So Labour get in last year, Hillsborough family support groups and again the organisations that were involved immediately within weeks said, right, well, you're in charge now, crack on. And there was nothing. People asked again several months later, and there was nothing. From what I remember, and I'm a bit wonky on the timeline, Mr Starmer and his press officer, or whomever it was, basically said that they guaranteed that it would be read before the, again, excuse if I've got the wrong date, I'm not great with my maths, the 36th anniversary of Hillsborough, which has just been obviously on the 15th earlier this year, that it would be read and processed through Parliament by that point. I'm recording this on July the 15th. If you're wondering why there's a gap in sound, if you're listening on YouTube podcasts, I'm just raising my hands going, what are we doing? That was 3 months ago, and that timeline has expired, and it's had to be reintroduced in the House of Commons, and the bill has been defeated. Bit of further background, I probably should have done this in order, but the reason that the Act was brought into Parliament in the first place was due to the horrific, incompetent, grossly negligent and appalling mismanagement of supporters at Hillsborough by South Yorkshire Police, who were found negligent of what is essentially a crime. Still to this day, there's no one actually been punished for it, but that's a completely, obviously, separate issue. Again, speak to people who know about it more than I do. There's lots of research on Hillsborough. There are a lot of very, very good writers, people with experience there, survivors groups. There's the Hillsborough Family Support Alliance, I believe, is the name. Far more qualified people that can talk about the disaster. I myself, sorry, I'm going all over the place here, but I actually saw it on TV in 1989. At that point, I wasn't a Liverpool fan. I was about a year away from becoming it, and I went into the living room, because we used to live in Eastbourne in '89, and my dad, God rest his soul, had basically said, I do not wish to be disturbed. I've been at work all week. I want to watch the FA Cup semi-final. And his wife, my mum, basically said, all right, cool. And they said to me, Leon, can you please not disturb your father? And I said, all right, fair enough. But like most children, I got bored. I was 8 at that point, and I came wandering through into the living room and demanded to know why. As per usual, Dad had the football on, and I told him that I wanted to watch Tom and Jerry instead. Now, usually my dad would just say, oh, go away, son. And that was my very bad Ghanaian accent. But this time he didn't say anything. And he looked completely ashen-faced, I didn't see my dad scared that much, ever, while he was still here. But he looked legitimately scared, horrified, and just in a state of disbelief. And I kept trying to tell Daddy what's wrong, and he wouldn't say anything because he was a very private man, my dad. But when I turned around, obviously I won't describe what I saw at the time for fairly obvious reasons, but obviously I saw the images coming through during the broadcast and after the broadcast. I might be a bit sketchy on this, but I think BBC News went straight into BBC News after the match. It might have been like an hour or two after that. I can't recall, but either way, my dad put it on. It was fairly apparent that it had been a major disaster. And obviously at the time, look, everyone knows the story. Liverpool fans were inaccurately, I'll say politely, blamed for this atrocity when the blame should have gone to Mr Duckenfield and South Yorkshire Police for their quite breathtakingly horrendous organisation of the crowd, and obviously specifically what happened at the Leppings Lane. And like I said, please go and listen to someone better than me to describe it, because I can't eloquently sum it up as good as some other people who are authorities on the subject. But basically, and excuse my language here as well, and I do apologise, but South Yorkshire Police royally fucked up. Royally. And 97 people are no longer with us. The 97th, again, excuse my ignorance, Andrew, I believe, but really sorry if I've got the name wrong, died, want to say a couple of years back now, I think, something along those lines, maybe 18 months. So he was the 97th, because it had been justice for the 96, and now obviously it's JFT 97, justice for the 97. So the background for the bill basically was based off Hillsborough, essentially, that the family support groups, the survivors, wanted to introduce a bill into the Houses of Parliament and into politics in general, basically to prevent people, organisers, groups, bodies from being able to get away with criminal negligence in policing crowds. Again, I'm not explaining this greatly, I do apologise, but basically it's to make sure that stupid people can't cost any more people their lives, and incompetent organisers are held accountable for their actions and prosecuted in the events of deaths and tragedies going forward. Okay. Like I said, I try and not get involved in politics if I can do, but obviously politics is coming more and more into football. We have this ridiculous, quite absurd fake culture war thing, which hopefully will only last for a few more years. Woke versus right wing, and endless nonsense that I'm just not interested in whatsoever, and I don't usually like having this sort of rubbish on my channel. But in saying that, I'm trying to find the right words and be as polite as I can do. I have listened to the responses from Keir Starmer. I've listened to the responses from Labour to try and... I can't be objective after what I personally saw when I was 9 years old. It scared the living hell out of me. It really upset my father. I can't imagine what those people are still going through now. Destroyed families. Those people aren't here anymore. At the end of the day, they went to go watch a Liverpool match, and the people should not be dying at a football match ever, under any circumstances. So I've listened to the responses from Labour and Keir Starmer. And basically, again, I'm going to drop another swear word, so I'll put NSFW for this. But basically, long story short, they are full of shit. It's as simple as that, really. There was no reasonable response as to why they were blocking the bill. Starmer actually said, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, actually said he wanted to take the time to get the bill right. I mean, Mr. Starmer, with the greatest of respects, you will have personally known about this tragedy as a football fan and as an Arsenal fan at the same time as me. I think me and Keir are, we're not a dissimilar age. I think he's about like 8 or 9 years older than me, I don't know, but he will have fully well known about this, and he's been a serving politician, I would imagine, for at least 3 decades, if not more, and he would have known about this going through Parliament in terms of the campaign for justice for Hillsborough. He's been in charge of the country for, what, a year? Coming up to, give or take. And he took meetings with the families group and Mrs Aspinall and various other people 8 to 10 months beforehand. So I'm guessing he's known a request like this must have been coming, 18 months to 2 years out. And the gentleman needs extra time and additional time to read the bill to make sure he gets it right. I find his response and the response of the Labour Party to be incredible, quite frankly. And there might be an aspect of protecting big business from being prosecuted. Obviously, the intention of the bill was to prevent further tragedies like Grenfell, Manchester, the thing that happened in London in one of the arenas, I believe, when there was a massive crush, things of that nature. And unless there are people who don't want any part of negligence lawsuits, I cannot think for the life of me of a reason why anyone in their right mind would want to block a bill that is intended to stop potentially hundreds of people losing their lives. I mean, I'm politically on an island now. I'm barely at the point where I can vote anymore, to be honest. That's a whole separate issue, and I don't want to get into politics on this, but there is no reasonable justification for the Labour Party blocking this bill. There is no reasonable explanation for the Labour Party or Keir Starmer to basically, frankly, take the piss out of the survivors, more so than it has been already in the fight for justice for Hillsborough. It's completely unacceptable that they would delay the bill for any reason. Now, if there was I mean, I can't even think of a reason, to be honest, but if there had been, say, I don't know, a request from one of the families groups for, I don't know, an event organiser to be jailed for the rest of their lives in solitary confinement, well, I mean, to be honest, that's probably not a million miles off myself, but that probably isn't massively appropriate. But unless there was something that was so outlandish in the bill, and I've tried to read portions of what's being asked for, then I don't see anything in there that's unreasonable. And I'm sorry, but to basically frustrate the bill like this and potentially endanger more people's lives is disgraceful, it's revolting, and it's not something I would expect a human being to even countenance. I find Labour's position on this and the Prime Minister's position on this to be appalling beyond words, and I think it's an insult to the memories of the 97. It's a complete insult to the hard work of the Hillsborough Family Support Alliance and various other groups, and it's an insult to the survivors and the people of Liverpool in general. And I'm not going to say anything else because this is meant to be a happy podcast, and I'm really sorry it's not been joyful this time, but I just wanted to highlight it because I feel very strongly. Before I get all the comments, yes, I'm not a Scouser. Outside there is South Leeds. I'm a South Leeds lad, but I have supported this football club since I was 10 years old when I first saw John Barnes. And Liverpool Football Club's been there for me through the good times, through the bad times. My father that I just mentioned died in 1997, December, and I was completely lost. And then I watched Liverpool beat, ironically enough, Leeds 3-1 at Anfield. And I cried, missed my dad, and it gave me a bit of joy, a bit of comfort. And also then I went to go and see Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, which ironically enough, I think was in and around that year's anniversary of Hillsborough. So I think it would have been at the time, the 9th year's anniversary, something along those lines. And there were, on that day, I cried because it was the first time I'd gone to Anfield without my dad. And when David Thompson scored the goal, I cried in the Kop end, so like the sort of top right hand corner of the Kop end. And these two Scousers, I'll never forget, and I've never met them, and I've never met them since, God knows who they are, but they held me and basically celebrated me while I had tears in my eyes. So that's the reason I wanted to highlight this. I love the football club. Obviously, we've just had the horrendous thing with Diogo. This club is unfortunately so linked to tragedy, it's unreal. And myself and my family have been treated really well in Liverpool, and it's the most welcoming city I've ever been to. The people are fantastic. Yes, obviously Liverpool, I'm not going to say the hood, it has perhaps in it like most other cities, but the majority of people are good, decent, kind, and incredibly generous. So I just wanted to do, even if no one watches this, I just wanted to get it off my chest. And I'm sorry, it's not very positive. I do apologise, but I just wanted to highlight how cruel and unnecessary, frustrating this bill is. And I just wanted to say, I personally will never vote for Labour again if they try to frustrate this bill any further. It's possibly one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen, and I hope Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, Angela Rayner, whoever else, are thoroughly and completely ashamed of themselves. Completely ashamed, because you should be. Anyway, folks, so yes, I just wanted to get that off my chest. So that's this week's happy podcast. I hope you all really enjoyed it. No, like I said, it was just something that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, we're in the we've got a couple of days till Liverpool play again now, so there will be on the tour of Hong Kong, good grief, Singapore, a couple of days after this is released. So we'll go back to normal podcast. But I just really felt that I wanted to speak about this after the bill being delayed yet again. And yeah, so we'll go back to normal next week. And I'll probably do some wrap up about one of the games if we've had one by that point, or just do a preview of the fixtures. But again, from the bottom of my heart, if anyone is listening or watching this, like I said, if I've said anything wrong, please correct me, because I do want to be educated on this. I have tried, and like I said, I struggled to retain information, probably because I was very poorly educated, unfortunately, in Derby. That's a whole other issue that we'll leave, thank you. And I just struggle to retain information and say the right things. You might have noticed on my videos before, I do a lot of stammering and like going, but that's, unfortunately, that's just the way I was made, unfortunately. So if I've said anything incorrect, please correct me. I'm more than happy to apologise for anything that I've said, and that's fine. I want to be educated on the subject and will continue to read about it. But from the bottom of my heart, keep going to the Hillsborough families. Love, as always, to the victims and the survivors, and justice for the 97. Obviously, you'll never walk alone, and I will continue to highlight this on social media and on my channels as much as I can do. And yeah, just love to the people of Liverpool, honestly, because Liverpool Football Club has made my life better. My life wouldn't have been as fun without Liverpool Football Club, and it's the least I can do, so thank you. Yeah, that's it, everyone. So yes, a bit of a hard listen, but if you could listen, and maybe just, even if you think my podcast is, again, I'll apologise for the bad language. If you think my podcast has been shit, that's absolutely fine. Like I said, I'm not the best authority on the subject, so, but please, all I would say is please go out and try and highlight the story and pass it on what Labour are doing, because as I said, it's not acceptable under any circumstances. They have no reason of any kind to frustrate this bill, and like I said, they should be thoroughly ashamed of themselves. Anyway, yes, anyone, thanks for watching, and thanks for listening on YouTube podcasts. Just quickly as well, I put something out on my social media last week, and a short, but I will be in Liverpool possibly twice now. I'm definitely going to the Athletic Bilbao second friendly on Monday, the 5th of August, which is at 5 o'clock. So I'll be leaving for Liverpool about 8, 9 in the morning. Hilariously, I've just promised to go out with my friends because I'm also a wrestling fan. I do wrestling stuff on my channel, and I will be watching SummerSlam until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which means I will be turning up in Liverpool drunk as the proverbial skunk. So whoever I'm sat next to in the Kenny, which is where I'm meant to be located, I sincerely apologise. I will try and tidy myself and make myself look presentable. But yeah, I'm going to go and watch that. So there'll be shorts and a vlog, and I'll try and go live before and after the match if I can do. So I'm going to do a whole thing while I'm there. I might be going to Liverpool before that as well, but it might just end up being that one trip because I may stay overnight. So I'm going to do like a what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to do like a pre-season preview, basically, at Anfield. And I'm going to do another walk around the stadium. I might even take the tour. And I know you've seen it on my shorts before, but I'm actually going to do like a mural tour, and I might do that live and go around all the different murals. So the murals going from where Hotel Anfield is in and around that area, and starting off there, and then I'll walk all the way to the other side. So where the cop bar is, where the Dalgleish one is. So I'll